everybody, it's Karina with Karina Loves to Plan. Welcome back to my channel. So here are basically the two cases that I hold my fountain pen collection in. The last time I did a fountain pen collection video was back in November, I believe, and I'll leave a link to that in the corner here. And basically that was me about 2 months into the fountain pen hobby. I didn't really know very much, and I was basically going into it like as deep into the pool as you could go. And I think now, about 8 months since that first video, I feel like I've got a better handle of what I like, what I don't like. So I wanted to give you guys an update on what my collection currently looks like. So first things first, I'm trying to figure out the best way to do this. So what I have in this Galen leather old school pen case is my currently inked pens, and it holds 5 pens, and I currently have 6 inked. And then in this Duralogio 24 pen case, I have my uninked pens. So I'm going to actually show you all of these so that you guys can kind of see where I'm at in terms of my collection. And I'm going to take you through each one. So one of the very first fountain pens that I ever received was actually this cross Botanica green Daylily from my dad. He purchased this quite a few years ago for me. How long ago did he purchase this for me? I feel like this was maybe 5-6 years ago that he purchased this for me. And I had really no idea about fountain pens whatsoever. At the time I used it, I wasn't a big fan of how wet the ink was and how broad it made my writing look. And I didn't really understand, that I had to, there was a certain paper that I could write with it and things like that. I didn't understand, but I thought it was very, very pretty. So I put it away for quite some time and actually only found it just recently. But this is a fountain pen that I never thought I would buy for myself. I do love the look of it, and I will never ever give this one away just because this was a gift from my dad. This particular pen does have a steel nib, and it is a fine steel nib. I actually really like writing with it, just like this, and it's actually a very, very smooth nib and a very good wet writer. So if you have a drier ink, this is a great one for that. And I ended up finding this, where did I find this? In my closet somewhere, packed with a whole bunch of other pens that I thought had disappeared, but I'm so glad I kept this because this really is a fantastic writer. It is a little bit too narrow in terms of the diameter in the grip and the body, but I absolutely love this for just short writing sessions. So few years later, when I did rediscover fountain pens again, I bought the whole range of basically starter pens. So I bought a Pilot Metropolitan, I bought a Pilot Kakuno, and I bought a TWSBI Go as well as a TWSBI Eco T. The only one that I have left out of those first 4 pens that I ever purchased is this TWSBI, oh my goodness, this Pilot Kakuno in the clear demonstrator. I love this pen, and I recommend this pen to anybody who just wants to try out a fountain pen. It is actually quite reasonable in cost. I think in Canada you can get this off Amazon for like anywhere from $10 to $13. And then the only catch is obviously you have to pay for either a Con 40 or a Con 70 converter, or you can use the cartridges, absolutely up to you. But what I love, this is a snap cap here. There is a cute little happy face. Let's zoom into that here. There's a cute little happy face on that nib and the little tongue sticking out. I love that nib. It's absolutely adorable. What I love about the Pilot Kakuno is actually how lightweight it is, but regardless of how lightweight it is, it's got a bit of a triangle grip in here, so you can actually rest your fingers quite easily there. And for me, it's wide enough in the diameter of the grip that it is comfortable. It's not too narrow at all. But the Pilot nib, this is a fine nib on this one, the Pilot nib is so smooth, especially for a steel nib. Absolutely love the Pilot Kakuno. This one, I've had 2 I've had now 4 Pilot Kakunos, 2 of which I've sold. I've sold a clear one with a fine nib and I didn't really think I needed two of the exact same pen. And then I sold a gray or a black one with an extra fine nib, and because I found the extra fine was just a bit too thin and a little bit too toothy for me, but I love this clear one. And I'm the type of person where I don't want to have a pen in my collection. Like, I don't want to have duplicates of a certain type of pen unless there's something different about it, and I'll go into a little bit more detail about that. So the next pen that I ended up getting for myself, it's not even in here anymore, but the next two pens that I did get for myself were the Kakuno Kakuno Skyline Sport in the Macchiato, as well as the Lamy Safari in the Savannah Green. I did not like either of those ones. I mean, I liked the pocket size of the Kakuno Sport, but I did not like the extra fine nib. It was so scratchy to begin with, and I didn't know what I was doing in terms of, you know, how I could clean it in between the tines of the nib with, you know, brass sheets. I didn't know that I could work with the scratchiness of the nib with mesh. So I sold that pretty quickly, and then I also sold the Lamy Safari Savannah Green as well. And then after that, I ended up buying a Lamy Vista. No, it is not here in my collection anymore. The reason that I ended up selling the Lamy Vista, not to say that I didn't like the way that it worked, the Lamy nib on that one was very, very smooth. It just, in the end, I ended up having two Lamys of essentially the same model except for the different bodies, and I wanted to just stick to the one, especially with Lamy nibs being interchangeable. I have a Lamy fine and extra fine nib, and I'm thinking of getting a 1.1 stub nib, and I didn't feel like I needed to have two Lamys of basically the same model. So I sold the Lamy Vista. So then what is next after that? So now I'll go into what is actually here. I think I've gone through all of the ones that I've already sold. Yes, I did end up also selling the Pilot Metropolitan because I don't remember why I sold that one. Why did I sell that one? I really don't remember why. Maybe it was just because I wasn't a big fan of the orange color. I don't know. But I was also at that stage where I was quickly buying and then selling pens, trying to really find what I liked. So then after watching Helen of the Coffee Monsters Co., she spoke about how she loved her Pilot Vanishing Point Decimo, and it was a gold nib pen. So I thought, you know what, for a gold nib pen, this is actually a really great price. I got this off of GouletPens, and it's $144 US, and it is a retractable pen. And it has an 18 karat fine nib, and it is just such a smooth writer, and this 18 karat nib is also a bit bouncy. Absolutely love it. The only thing for me with the Decimo is that it's slightly too narrow in terms of its body, but I do love this beautiful champagne color. So I think from this point, what did I get afterwards? I have my list here and I can't remember what I got next after that. Okay. So then after that, I really loved having the gold nib, and I'm gonna try a Sailor. So I purchased the Sailor Pro Gear Slim in Dragon Palace, and I love that this pen is just this beautiful jade color with golden sparkles in it with the gold trim, and this has a 14 karat medium fine nib. Like, that nib is beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. And what I love about the Sailor is that even when you do post it, it's quite a good size pen. I actually really like the way that this fits in my hand. The medium fine nib feels like a Pilot fine. I don't think I could go any finer than a medium fine for a Sailor, but I think it's beautiful. And Sailor is just, for the price of this, I got this off of eBay for $183 US, and I think it's such a good buy for what you get with this pen, and it's just so beautiful. The next Sailor that I got pretty much immediately after that is my Sailor Pro Gear in the white rose gold. This was not being sold at any retailers that I could see, so I actually bought this off of eBay. let's see, when did I buy this? I bought the Dragon Palace on October 23rd, bought this on November 14th. And I love the rose gold trim, the rose gold on the cap and the end there. And then when you open it up, it's got a beautiful, beautiful nib. And this is a 21 karat medium fine nib. And I actually find the medium fine on the Pro Gear versus the Pro Gear Slim wetter. It's a wetter nib, it's a softer nib, and I also love how the diameter of the grip and the body are just that much wider than the Pro Gear Slim. And I don't always post it. There are a lot of times I do post it and it actually feels wonderful in my hand. I prefer the diameter or the width of the Pro Gear versus the Pro Gear Slim, but I absolutely love them both. I don't think I will be buying any more Sailors. I know that Sailor comes out with so many different special editions and colorways and things like that, but I'm the type of person where I have a Sailor Pro Gear Slim and a Sailor Pro Gear, and they both write really, really excellently. I don't see why I need any other colorways unless I decide to get a different type of nib. I'm happy with the Sailors that I have. So after my 2 Sailors, I really tried to not go crazy with buying anymore. How many did I have at that point? I don't remember how many I had at that point because I know I was selling off the ones that I wasn't using as often. But after the Sailor Pro Gear, I love the white rose gold. But after the Sailor Pro Gear, literally less than a month later, I ended up going to my local stylist, Fine Pens, and purchasing the Pilot Vanishing Point in the Gunmetal with the Rhodium trim. Very similar to the Decimo. The only difference is that it is actually wider in terms of the diameter of the body and the grip. And I actually prefer that it is heavier and it is wider in terms of the diameter, but it is still the clicking mechanism, which I absolutely love. Now, I have seen some special editions already of the Pilot Vanishing Point. Like there was one that came out earlier this year. I think it's called Bamboo, and it's just gorgeous. But then I have to say to myself, for that particular pen, is it worth it to me to get something that's almost exactly the same as what I already have? Will it be the exact same writing experience? Is it worth it to me to pay for pretty much the exact same pen except just a different color body? I don't think I'm at that point yet. When I do end up finding the pen that I'm like, I need 10 of these, then maybe I'll get to that point, but I don't think I'm there yet. So then after the Pilot Vanishing Point, I was like, okay, that is enough. And you know how often we say that, right? So then after that, I said to myself, okay, I'm okay for a little bit, and I wasn't going to do any more spending. I really wanted to get to know the pens that I have. And then I ended up buying the Lamy All-Star in Cosmic because it was on sale at Wonder Pens. And this is basically like the Lamy Vista or the Safari, but it has the aluminum body. It's got the same triangular grip, but I just love the color of it. It is a little bit heavier than the Safari or the Vista. I don't post it because I feel like it's just way too back heavy. So it's perfectly in my hand like this. But what I love about the Lamys, especially the Safaris and the Vista, this particular model, is that these Lamy nibs are interchangeable. So I actually have an extra fine nib on it right now, but I did purchase a fine nib as well. I'm thinking of purchasing a 1.1 stub nib. And this is why I think I'm okay with just having the one Lamy All-Star. I don't need every single colorway of the Lamy All-Star because I have the interchangeable nibs. I love the one that I currently have. I don't feel like, for me personally, I don't think I need different colors of the same model if I can just change the nib. For me, the writing experience really falls down to the nib itself. So I don't think I'm at that stage where I want to spend money on the same model but different colors. Then after that one, I won this one from PenChalet. They were actually doing a little giveaway on Instagram, and I remember they were asking like, how do you turn like a good day into, or a bad day into a good day, or something like that, and I forget what I had said particularly, but I was so surprised when I got tagged in their post to say I was the winner. And this is their Esterbrook JR Fantasia special edition, and look at that blue sparkle. Look at that blue sparkle with the gold trim, and I got it in an extra fine nib. Now, when I first got this, I found it scratchy. To be completely honest, I found it scratchy, so I did some work on it by cleaning in between the tines of the nib with my brass sheets, worked on it with micro mesh, and the first ink that I used with it was the Colorverse in the CMA, I forget what it is, but it was a drier type of ink, and it just made that feel really, really scratchy. And then a couple months ago, I used this with Robert Oster Bondi Blue, and that combination was just beautiful. So I think with the right type of ink, this is just such a beautiful pen, and I've got now the nib to where I like it in terms of its smoothness. So I'm definitely keeping that one because I'm like, I won it. I won something, and I never win anything. So then at that point, I was like, I'm good. I'm good for a while. I don't want to do any, we always say that, don't we? We say that I don't want to buy anymore for a while. And then come March, or even like after I had this one, I start watching videos on the Pelikan. I don't know how I started watching videos on the Pelikan brand, but I did. And then this beautiful, beautiful pen came into my life in March, and I purchased this from GouletPens. This is the Pelikan M400 in the white tortoise, and I think I actually thought about this for quite a while for me. In the span of my journey is about a month. And I know some people it can take them more than 1 month, but months and years to finally get their Grail pen. And this was at that time the most expensive pen that I had purchased, and I absolutely love this. It wrote straight out of the box. It's so smooth and it's just gorgeous. So the M400 has a 14 karat extra fine nib, but this writes more like a Western medium, but I actually really, really love it. So nice. And again, at that point I said no more, because by this point it was only March and I had basically purchased a pen a month, or had acquired a pen a month. And then come April, I had been watching basically a whole ton of videos on vintage pens, especially vintage Pelikans, and I found this on eBay. This is the Pelikan 140. This is, I think, from either the 1950s or 60s, and it was such a good price that I was almost afraid that I was going to get ripped off. But no, at first when I got it, there was just a lot of blue ink, blue gunk left in the lid and on the nib, and I had to do some extra cleaning to it, but now it's beautiful. The flex nib feels a lot softer than what it was when I first got it, before I cleaned it, but it's just such a beautiful pen. It is definitely, I think, might be my smallest pen out of all that I have. Like, let's see here. I think it is smaller than, oh no, it's about the same size as the Sailor Pro Gear Slim. So it's one of my smaller pens, and it is very, very light, but it is the first vintage pen that I've ever purchased, and it's got that piston filler just like my Pelikan M400, and it is just gorgeous. It's got a great capacity, right, ink capacity, and that flex nib. So it has, I believe, a 14 karat extra fine nib, and it's just fantastic. Absolutely love that. I wasn't sure if I wanted to fall down the rabbit hole of vintage pens. I think I'm okay with this vintage pen. I don't feel the need to venture into other vintage pens. I think I'm good for vintage pens. So that was April. And then in April was also the month that I said no spend. No spend on fountain pens, no spend on fountain pen accessories. This was the only thing I spent money on in April. Then come May, I was like, yay, the floodgates have opened. What did I buy in May? In May, I ended up purchasing the TWSBI Diamond 580 in the Smoke Rose Gold. Before I purchased this, the white rose gold had just come out, but it wasn't of interest to me. The main reason it really wasn't of interest to me was I felt like I already had something in a white rose gold. I don't know if I really needed another one that looked similar. I wanted something that looked slightly different. And I love that with this particular pen, that Smoke Rose Gold is transparent. And I think the combination of the rose gold with the smoke is beautiful. Now I did end up selling my TWSBI Eco Tea, before I purchased this, I sold my TWSBI Eco Tea because I thought to myself, if I'm gonna invest in another pen, I need to let another one go in my collection. And if I wanted to buy another TWSBI, I wanted to buy one that I really, 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 really loved. And the Eco Tea in the clear demonstrator was one of those ones that I purchased when I'm like, oh, I love all clear demonstrators. Not anymore. I love the look of this pen. And when I first received it, this is in a fine nib. When I first started writing with TWSBIs, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's because I was used to the Pilot nibs, but I felt like this was just a little bit scratchy. So again, I had to work with it with my brass sheets and do some mesh, but I think it is at the place that I do really like it. And I'm tempted to, I think, add the Eco and the Smoke Rose Gold, just because I want to try out another nib. We'll see. I'm still on the fence with that one. I don't want to buy a TWSBI unless I know another TWSBI unless I really, really love it. I did used to have a TWSBI Go. And that was also in the clear demonstrator, and I actually ended up giving it to my husband. He is not a fountain pen collector as, like me, but I thought I wanted to, introduce him to fountain pens, and I thought the TWSBI Go, he really liked that one and he still uses it. He has me clean it, of course, and put inks in it, but he loves using it. So after this pen, which I purchased in May, I'm like, no more. No, 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 no more. And then this came along. And then GouletPens was also having their birthday sale. So I was able to get this beautiful Pelikan M800 in the black tortoiseshell for 15% off. And GouletPens is also relatively less expensive than any of the American retailers that are currently selling it. So I had to grab it, and I purchased the M600 model because I wanted to try a slightly heavier Pelikan, slightly girthier in terms of it. The diameter of the grip is wider than that of the M400, and it's a special edition. This was one of those where I'm like, I actually really love the way that this one looks. I didn't want to just, I say the standard models, but the blue stripe and the red stripe and the green stripe are all beautiful. But this also came out, and I thought, you know what? If I'm going to go ahead and invest in another Pelikan, let's do a special edition. So yes, I do have 3 Pelikans, but they're all different models and they all look completely different. I don't think I will purchase another 600 or another 400 or another vintage one. If I do end up purchasing another Pelikan, it will be to try an M800. And then I think I will be done with purchasing Pelikans, because then I will have one in every model that I've wanted to try. I don't think I'm interested in trying the M1000. But then if I try the M800, I think, okay, I've got a range now of different Pelikan pens, and then I can see really which one, in terms of its weight, its diameter, things like that, work really, really well for me. But so far, I love the collection that I have in terms of the Pelikan flock. And no, that was not the last pen I purchased. I purchased one in June, even though I said this was the last one, but this one was a relatively inexpensive purchase. This is a Pilot Kakuno with the white body and the yellow cap. The reason that I purchased it was because I wanted to try a medium nib. So this has a Pilot medium. this medium nib is similar to what you would see in a fine in like a TWSBI or a, what's another one, or in a Lamy. Lamy fine, so I wanted to try this just to see if I would like the Pilot Medium nib, and I actually really do like the medium stale nib for Pilot. It's so smooth. It does put down a broader line than the fine. I just love it. Okay. I've been talking a very long time about my collection of, I'm at 13 pens, but so, like, you know, for what I have currently, I'm really happy with what I have. Whenever I think about purchasing any new pens, I think about whether I've tried the model before, whether I've tried this brand before, do I have something similar to it that could fulfill that writing experience. I don't want to necessarily buy one brand, one model in all different colorways, even if they do have different nibs. I don't want to necessarily buy it unless I'm completely happy with that first one, and then we'll see how we go. And that's why, for example, like the Lamy All-Star is the only Lamy I have currently, because I'm extremely happy with switching out the extra fine and the fine nib and hopefully trying out a 1.1 stub soon. And like with my sailors, I'm happy with the two that I have. I don't have any, I don't want to say interest, but I don't have any inclination to go and buy any of the newer models, because I know that really the writing experience will mostly be the same, because the only difference is really the color of the body, and you're going to get the same 21 karat nib for the Sailor Pro Gear or the 14 karat nib with the Sailor Pro Gear Slim. And you know, I'm happy with the two that I have. And then with the, for example, the Pilot Vanishing points, I'm also happy with the two that I have. Unless there's a model that really completely blows me out of the water, then maybe I'll think about it. And then again, my Pelikan. So I do have a couple of pens still on my wish list, but I'm hoping to really just get to know what I've got before I make any more purchases. All right, so this was a very long, chatty video about my fountain pen collection. If you have a question about any of these, please let me know. And I also want to let you know that the reason that I have it in this particular order is because this is the order that I want to ink it up in. So starting from the M600 and working my way down, that is what the order that I will ink up. Once I'm done these will go here, and then I will keep going in that order in terms of what I will ink up. That is a lot of talking for me. All right. I wanted to give you guys a story about my fountain pen journey, why I chose certain fountain pens, and why my fountain pen collection is the way it is. And I hope it gave you guys a bit of understanding of why I love this hobby and why I have what I have. If you guys have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. If you like this video, please leave me a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. If you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching, and have yourselves a great day.